Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to Mower Mike's, and I hope you are ready for the best riding lawnmower transmission servicing video on the internet for all your riding lawnmower transmission needs. Yes, what we've got here, we got a Tuff Torq transmissions. All your riding lawnmowers with steering wheels have Tuff Torq transmissions, just different versions of it. And so what I'm going to show you today is first how to drain it, and then we're going to pop the bottom pan off and get to all the filters within this sucker to clean them or swap them out. In order to do that, you do have to remove the pan. For all of you that have Zeroturns, this will not apply to you. Zeroturns have hydro gear transmissions, which are totally different, but I've got a whole playlist with hydro gear transmissions, servicing them, replacing them, all that good stuff. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that this transmission is removed from the lawnmower. I have videos on how to remove it and install the transmission on the lawnmower. But if you do not want to go through that hassle, because it is not an easy job, as you will see in my mess of a video of removing it. So, all right, with that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna zoom in and first drain it, and then we're gonna pop the bottom off. Stay with me. Let's stop messing around and get this fluid out of the transmission. Now, when you're looking down at it, no matter which one you've got, you're gonna have two main ports. You're gonna have a vent port here, and then you've got your big port right here, which is the main plug. So we need to get this guy out because you really wanna fill it and empty it from this one. In order to get that out, we need to remove the fan and the pulley. Now, most of them for the K46, you're gonna have a snap ring on there, which is gonna have a couple little holes. You're gonna need some snap ring pliers. The best snap ring pliers are the channel locks. You've got different attachments that go on here, different settings. These things are just sweet. I'll put a link down below. They're about 30 bucks. But for me, I've actually got a lock nut. So that's gonna make it super easy. So I'm just gonna get a 5/8 on there with my big boy, the XR. Put her in full reverse, and then it just pops off. Now try to keep everything straight so you don't lose anything. And then, hey, I actually got lucky. It was not rusted on there. All right, so now you're gonna have full view of your little clippy. Of the rubber piece. Now these things can be a bear to get out. And I am 90% sure that I am going to end up ripping this thing. So you're in luck. Amazon has replacement ones. I'll put links down below in the video description. I've already got mine on order. So let's see. This thing is gonna take a little bit more coaxing to get off here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab some pliers and something a little more serious. All right. See if I can get this sucker up underneath here. Oh boy. Yep, this thing is definitely gonna break. Sorry about the wiggle waggle. There it goes. There she goes. All right, you can see it did pop off, but I've got some pretty serious damage to it. So thankfully I've got a new one coming in. But you can see right there, now we have access to what's underneath there. And if you pull this guy out, this here is a little magnet, so it's super cool. So you could take this out and clean it, and you'll get some of the gunk off. But ooh, you see, golly, it looks like charcoal. So we'll go ahead and clean this, and then we're gonna drain out the fluid. All right, y'all ready to start having some real messy fun? Now we're going to drain the fluid out of the transmission. My method I'm going to take is first remove both of the plugs, and then I'm going to flip it inverted onto this 5-gallon bucket because it should fit just about right in this 5-gallon bucket and hold it. Will it work? I don't know. I saw it on YouTube on old Terrell, showed him doing this, so let's see if it'll work. All right. Now, usually I make a mess anytime I do anything like this. Oh, shit. All right, you can see we're going down. Boom. Look at that. All right, so we've got the transmission upside down now that we got all the fluid out. Next step is to remove all the 12 millimeter bolts, and for that I got the old DeWalt brushless. This is one sweet tool. And we're gonna go ahead and take them off. It's a lot of bolts, so let me go ahead and do this, and then we're gonna pry this thing open and see what's inside. Okay, we got all those bolts out. I counted a total of 16 bolts going around and then 2 in the middle. Now the 2 middle are going to be a little longer, just for your awareness. But next, let's go ahead and have some fun. What we're going to do, we're going to pry off the cover here. Now this thing is held on by RTV sealant. It's been on there for several years, but Mr. Deere was kind enough to leave us little tabs right here that allows us to start prying this thing open. And she's gonna be pretty stuck in there. That's why I use hammers for everything until they break. Let's see there. Nice. All right, come on. There we go. Oh boy, it's like opening a Christmas present. Yep, that's how I get excited, folks. All right, we gotta come over here and do a little more prying. I think she's starting to loosen up on us. There we go, just popped. This, now, before I open this up, realize this lawnmower has about 800 hours on it. Spent the last 9 years in a cow pasture. Voila, look at that. That is kind of surprising how amazingly clean the bottom of this is. I thought that thing would be full of dirt. So next, I'm gonna do a little research and we're gonna pull out the various little magnets, which I already can see one right here, because there are several magnets inside of this transmission, which are extremely gross. So look at that. I mean, these magnets are what you really want to pull out and clean. I see another one right there. I'm not quite sure how we're gonna get that one out. It's kind of odd. They're stuck in there. So let me see. I wonder if we can just get a little screwdriver, pop that fella out. Might as well do it while my hands look like they've been... Wow, look at that. Huh, actually, no. All right, well, let me stop. Now, if we look at it, the filter is right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the filter, which looks surprisingly good. Right there, all right. And then it looks like we can remove that guy. You can see I'm a total professional at this. And then maybe we can remove these guys. Not quite sure how that guy slides out. We may have to remove that there, but I'm a little worried. All right, I'm no building confidence. I got my fingers super dirty. So let me take a break and do a little research and we're gonna pull those suckers out. All right, what we're gonna do next, we're going to pull out these two magnets. This reminds me of Connect 4, which I was a master. I do meet my wife at Connect 4. So push this little magnet out there and that should slide out first. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe push that one out there. There it goes. All right, we got one out. As you can see right there, that one slid out from there. And then the next one, maybe the next one, yep, there we go. It looks like they slid out of their little home right there. Very odd. But as you see, we got them both out. They are all disgusting. It does look like these magnets really did their job because this transmission looks amazingly clean. And just so you know, that's actually the hydraulic pump right there. It's got the little things that fill with oil, it transfers fluid, and then it makes the gears run. If you want to know how these things actually work, Tuff Torq has an awesome video. I'll put a link down below. It goes through all the details in there and like the squash plates, and it's pretty fascinating. So with that, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up. Okay, fellas. The next step is cleaning. Yes, I know some of us cringed, but trust me, this is not like putting up the dishes. This is gonna be a fun cleaning job. What we mainly need to clean on this, first of all, clean all the gunk off, like we're gonna wipe off that, you know, make sure it looks good in there. But most of your work's going to be getting the RTV silicone off of our mating surfaces, both on the transmission case and then over here on the pan. Now the pan, like you can see, it's just a pan. So you can let that sucker rip. I love using these Scotch-Brite pads on a drill and just go at it and it'll clean it just perfect. But when we look at the transmission case, now there's a lot going on here, and when you rip them with those Scotch-Brite pads, I mean, stuff starts flying everywhere. So what I've done, I'm just going old school with a pretty sharp flathead screwdriver and just going around, scrubbing it, and I'm putting this at an angle, that way the pieces don't fall back into the transmission. It's very important that we keep this transmission clean. So I'm leaning it, I'm shoving a little paper down in there to help try to catch it, and just going around very slowly, getting all the crevices, and make sure to check inside there because there is gasket material down inside of there, and make sure you get all of that done. And then once you do that, come around to our magnets. You should have 4 magnets that are super gnarly, and just go ahead and clean them off. A little bit of B12 Chem Tool, little carb cleaner here, a little shot of that, make sure that's clean. And also the filter. Now make sure these are clean. You can order a new filter. I put a couple links down below to the Amazon ones. You just have to recognize that each of these transmission models do have different filters. For example, I ordered the wrong one, but so make sure you do your research. But I will put a couple of starters on there. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this. I'm not gonna waste your time with me scrubbing everything. And then I'm gonna come back and we are going to play with some goo and get some silicone on here. Stay with me. All right, next we're gonna play with our magnets and filters and get them loaded back in there. First one's gonna slide in that slot right there. Just make sure it goes all the way in there and not pull out there. There we go. Then we've got our two other magnets and they slide up like this, is at least how I am doing this. Honestly, gang, it feels like a freaking slot machine. And one's gonna slide down there and it's home, and then the other one slides right in there. All right. So now those two guys are in there. Then we want to install our little springy. Goes right there. There's a little lip. And next you can see our filter, which actually cleaned up quite nice. It was shocking how clean the filter is. Those magnets do an amazing job to keep this sucker nice and clean. You can see right there, you'll feel it when it slides all the way down. It goes into its little home and the little lip is going to be towards the bottom. So with that, we have got this sucker clean and finally ready for some silicone. All right, this is just going to be one little safety tip before we bring out all the gooey, nasty silicone. And you have all the filters, you got all your stuff in here. I like to go ahead and line up the pan to the case and make sure it actually fits on there, because if you have something that's not completely lined up and then you try to put it on there with a bunch of dang silicone, trust me, things head south real quick when you get a bunch of silicone all over your gears. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And you want to make sure that lip, and see, we're going to have a really good seal. And just go around and just check out and make sure you got a lip. What are those? Those are a couple of drain plugs. Yes, sir. While I had this off, I went ahead and installed 2 drain plugs on the bottom so I never have to remove this transmission again. I'll put a link to a separate video for drain plugs down below. But enough chitter chatter, let's get the silicone and get dirty. Ooh, she's looking shiny now. Now we get to actually put the silicone to create our new gasket. These Tuff Torq transmissions don't come with gaskets. They use silicone as the gaskets. Now my favorite gasket maker is called Resinol. I'll put an Amazon link below. I've just used this stuff for years on motorcycles and pretty much everything. And so you just want to go around and just do a small bead all the way around the pan. Now I thought about doing this on the case, but I think that's going to get a little dangerous. So let me go around the whole thing and not waste your time, and then I'll show you what I did. Well, hot dang, I think that looks pretty good. Now, just to walk you through, see, we've got a line all the way around the outside, of course, but also, remember, this is 2 halves, and they'll have these separated. And so we have a gasket also down the middle, comes around here. You don't want it there, but you do want it on the outside right there, coming up here. Don't put it down in here, because this is a bearing. Another thing I want you to notice, if you're a man, you want to use more and more and more. In this instance, hold back. You do not want to use too much silicone, because if you use too much, it spills over, it smushes in the side. Then you get silicone running through your gears and pumps and issues. You do not want to be what they call a pookie monster. So keep your silicone very slow and steady, and this Resinol works great. So next, what I got to do, I'm going to line everything up, and I'm a little nervous about this because we want to drop this thing directly over the bolt holes so I don't smear my beautiful pookie. So stay with me. Okay, I got to admit, my heart's racing. I am a little nervous for this next step, because what we're going to do, we're going to put the transmission pan back on here, but with all that goo, we have got to get it lined up perfect and not move around. That way it seals up. First, make sure you got all your filters in there, your magnets. Make sure your gears are in here. For example, this guy here, if you flip this thing upside down, this gear falls out, which is a little tricky. So anyways, enough rambling. let's just go ahead and do it. All right, so you can see I'm coming down the top, and you can look through the bolt holes and make sure you get them lined up. Go super slow, folks, super slow, super slow. There we go. Oh man, all right, I think that worked. It might be a little off, and then go through. There we go, there we go. Come on in, come on in. All right, I'm gonna start with a couple of bolts here just to keep it lined up before we actually throw the heat down and really push down on there. Because you've got that spring on there also, which is gonna hold it. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and push down like so. Yep, I think we've got a good connection here. I should have brought a wrench over here, would have been a great idea, but I don't. So definitely want to grab a wrench before you do this. So hopefully I can get a bolt in here deep enough to tighten her down. Shit. Okay, I'm gonna get a few bolts in here. I mean, it feels like we're lined up, but with that spring pushing back, I'm worried that it's gonna push back. Please don't push back. All right, shit. There it went. So when you do this, I do suggest that you have some sort of tightening device to tighten down said bolts, which I am getting right now, because that thing just popped back up, and that is the last thing you want to do, because that kind of screws up your perfect little bead. All right, hang on just a minute. I can see. I ain't no expert, folks, but we're gonna get there one way or the other, come hook or crook, as they say. Because once that's on there, you really don't have a choice. I mean, you are committed. So, all right, so I got my wrench set up. I'm gonna go ahead and push it back on there, like so. But now, there it goes, there it goes. Now, see, I'm gonna zip this thing down just to keep her lined up. There we go. All right, so now, now we've got her held down. Oh my gosh, this makes me so nervous. So what you wanna do, you wanna hand tighten to start them, and then just slowly tighten them down. So I'm gonna go ahead and just lightly tighten these suckers down. And this is an awesome little tool. I'll put a link down below. And then we're gonna go around and torque this bad boy. Stay with me. All right, folks. I think we actually got that sucker stuck on there, going around the outside. You can see a little goose sticking out, but we've got all the bolts hand tightened down lightly. Next, you want to go through and you want to torque it. I have read online that between 16 and 18 foot-pounds of torque for the bolts is where you want to be, which I would officially do, but I'm out of batteries in my torque wrench, which, yeah, what dummy has batteries in their torque wrench? Well, that's me. So I'm gonna go through and just hand tighten them down to what I think that would be. And when you do it, I suggest a crisscross pattern going from one side to the other. That way you're not just going 1, 2, 3, 4, because that can kind of mess things up. So I'm gonna go around and torque these things, and after you torque them down, let it sit overnight. Just stop touching it, let all the silicone set up, and then we can flip it over and start filling her up, strap some fans on, and finally finishing this video. All right, we finally get to the step where we can fill our transmission back up with oil. And we're gonna start with every man's favorite topic to bitch about on the internet. I mean, there's millions of posts. What type of oil do I use? Well, clean oil, I think, is the most important. But what type of oil? I'm gonna give you what I think, and remember, this is just free advice on YouTube, so take it for what it is. These Tuff Torq transmissions or hydro gear transmissions on your Zeroturn, can you run them with motor oil? 5W30, conventional synthetic, 10W30, absolutely you can. They will work great with motor oil, but I do suggest getting a hydrostatic gear transmission oil that is specific for these units. Why do I say that? Because Your regular motor oil does have the additives, but your engine is meant to run at much higher temperatures than these will ever get to, which means those additives in your engine oil, they don't actually release and actually do their job until they reach higher temperatures. The hydrostatic gear specific transmission oils will release those additives at a much lower temperature and have better life in your transmission. So what type? Now there are a few out there. There is a Tuff Torq transmission oil that is from Tuff Torq. It's kind of pricey. You can buy it on Amazon. I will put it down below. That is what the manufacturer recommends. Or you can use a John Deere transmission oil J20C. And that is a very good oil. It's actually pretty cheap, about 40 bucks on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. But what is Mower Mike going to use? I am a big believer in the AMSOIL hydrostatic gear transmission fluid. I have used these in Zeroturns and it works fantastic. So this is a 20W50 specific for hydro gear transmissions and it works great. I've never used it in an actual riding lawnmower, but I think it's going to work great. It is a 20W50. It's a little heavier, but that's what I'm going with. I'll put links to all of these options down below, so make your own choice. Now, when you fill this transmission with oil, the level is very, very important. We're going to go through the main cap here, and you want to do right at 0.8 inches down below the cap line. That way you have that magnet sitting in that oil sucking up all the crap. And it is recommended that you fill it through the big cap. Now, can you fill it through the little vent tube? Yes, you can. But remember, these are two separate areas in the transmission. It will take longer. You want to make sure it seeps into the main transmission. How much oil are you going to use? This one's a K58. It takes 2.4 quarts. Most of you are rocking the K46. That's 2.2 quarts. So just make sure to get a 3-quart bundle and you'll be good to go. So with all that rambling about oil, let's go ahead and zoom in and we will fill her up and see what it looks like. All right, kids, let's get the filling. Now, we're going to fill it through the big fat cap first. And before you start, it's always a good idea to measure how much oil you're going to put in there just so you get a feel for it. You can see here on the hydro gear transmission fluid I'm using, we're going to try to get down to here. That'll be about 2.4 quarts. So we will see how much goes in there. And hopefully I won't make a mess like I have been doing. Gulp, 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 gulp. All right. Now, one thing you're going to have to remember, once we fill it up, you will need to purge the system, and we will go through that process after I do this and we get this thing back together. Don't just go thinking you're good to go. All right, we're kind of slowing down a little bit. This is some thick stuff, yo. All right, see, we got a little blockage in the system. Is that thing already? Uh-oh. All right, it is slowly going in there, I think, or it's just spilling over the side. Interesting. Now, what I've done to measure the height of the oil, I've gone ahead and measured a couple of things on here. So we're going to dip this in there. This is 0.8, this is 1.5. Let's see. All right, it is going in there still, kind of slowly. You may have to pull up your funnel a little bit because as you can see, it goes into the side. There's a little side thing there. All right. I know this is riveting YouTubing. Dang. So that thing, we're at 2 quarts. Obviously I spilled quite a bit, so we're gonna go below the line. All right. So let me go ahead and do a little test here. Yeah, we need some more there, folks. She is a little thirstier than I thought. All right, looks like we are about there. Let me go ahead and do my little test, and we're going to zoom in, so strap in. All right. Let's see. You can see right there, I filled it up, and then it goes into the little expansion stake on the side, so when it starts puking a little bit, let's see. You can see we are just about right. And then I did this one for the overfill tank. Let's see how much is in there. It's leaning a little bit. So we've probably got a little more fluid than necessary, but technically this is the right amount of fluid. Hopefully when it purges, it will suck a little more down. All right, we have got her topped off. Next, we're gonna go ahead and install the caps and the fan and get her ready for the big dance. Now, don't forget your magnet. Make sure you got it cleaned up. The little thing goes on there. They're not connected. It's just a magnetical situation, and it drops in there. This is actually a really cool design. They should put that on cars or something. So we got that, and then you've got your caps. Now, if you're like me and you totally destroyed the caps, getting them off, as you can see, they do sell new caps on Amazon. It's 20 bucks. Comes with a kit. Comes with both caps. It's pretty cool. So you're gonna slide that one there, and then the actual vent cap goes there. And this sucker, it's tight. So go ahead, you might need a little persuasion, as we say. There we go. And give that guy a little taparooski. All right, so we got those on there. And then next, what you want to do, you go ahead and install your pulley. And when you install a pulley, it's got that little nut on the top. That goes up top, like so. Then you take your fan, with that part goes down there. You can see that slides over said nut. That way we get a good, and then you got a washer. And then you got this thing here, slides over there. And I've got a lock nut. Now some of y'all are gonna have that C-clip thingy, but for me, it's the nut, and we're gonna go ahead and zip it down. Now, how much torque to put on this? I have no idea, but you can Google it. Whoa, get ready, boy. You better hang on to that bastard. That feels tight to me. I'm just tired of looking online for torque specs. All right, she is buttoned up and ready. Now next, I'm going to install this transmission in the lawnmower, which will be a separate video I'm gonna put below. But for those of you watching the transmission fluid change videos, I'm gonna go ahead and skip forward to how we're going to bleed it with it on the lawnmower. Now, can you bleed this thing on here? There's probably a way. When you bleed it, you're just turning this guy, and I'm sure you can find something online, but that's not how I do it. I'm gonna bleed it with it on the lawnmower. So enough rambling. I'm going to try to wrestle this thing back on the lawnmower. Hopefully it goes better than my removal video, so stay with me. All right, gang, this is just gonna be a quick hit on how to bleed your Tuff Torq transmission on pretty much any riding lawnmower you've got. You've got to bleed your transmission anytime you remove the fluid or do any messing around with the transmission, because what happens is you get little air bubbles in that transmission, and you've got to bleed it out to remove the air bubbles, because there's little tiny cylinders in there that kind of get air in there, and you don't want air in it or it won't work. Now, to bleed it, you can't have weight on the wheels because the wheels have to be free spinning. Now, there are ways to do this while it's on the bench. I don't know how to do that. The way I always do it is you essentially want to jack up the rear of the transmission, make sure the front end is steady. As you see here, I've got jack stands on it. And it's super simple. All you do is you run it. So we're gonna start it, and I just go forward and backward and forward and backward. And as you're gonna see, it's gonna start real rough, is my theory, and then it's slowly gonna get more power. So let's go ahead and start her up. We'll go forward. Yep. Forward. Third. Come on. Faster, faster. All right, folks, that worked great. As you saw, as it went going, it got a little more power, a little more power. Just keep bleeding it. One point of advice, don't run your lawnmower in a closed garage, because I could die. I've got to get out of here, so this video's over. Catch you next time. Well, for those viewers that are left, I have a very sad and slightly embarrassing admission to make. During the filming of these transmission videos, I proceeded to absolutely destroy a Japanese flag. I thought this would make a cool backdrop to my transmission videos, but as you can see, it got dirt, grime, grease, transmission fluid all over it. So I would like to reach out to my Japanese viewers. If anybody could please leave a comment and let me know what is the proper way to dispose of a Japanese flag respectfully. Because I don't know how to do it. I don't know if it involves burning it, some sort of samurai chop, swords, whatever. Please let me know. Because if somebody did that to an American flag, I would be pretty dang pissed. And I don't want some redneck Googling. I don't need any inner keyboard kings going on here. I want an actual Japanese person to let me know who actually knows what to do with this. So please leave me a comment with that. I'm out of here. We're going to do some more fun videos. I promise we are done with ticking with transmissions for a while. Mower Mike's out.